back once again to all of our viewers on Hyder TV to Youth Talk, exclusively on Hyder TV, where we get together for about 30 minutes to discuss some of the issues facing the youth in the Western world, as well as throughout the globe. We are once again honored to be joined by Maulana Syed Raza Hussain Zaidi of the Toronto and GTA area. Maulana has an extensive background in dealing with issues facing the youth, not just from Canada and the United States and the North American continent, but his experience in Europe, in England, as well as his educational background and his, mashallah, said dini taaleem, put him in a very unique position to be able to share with us some of his knowledge and experience and advice in regards to these issues. Today and for the next 14 days, I will be hosting the series. My name is Zain Razvi, and we will be discussing issues such as identity, belonging, issues that we face at the workplace, at school, throughout the Western world, and how we reconcile some of those challenges with our Islamic teachings. Just a note for all Hyder TV viewers, I'm sure that many of you have been watching our programs, and you may have certain questions or certain specific examples that you may require some information on, or some advice or some insight on. For those of you that do have questions, please do feel free to call us in. The number will be on the screen. It's 416-558-9246. And again, you'll just put in a +1 416-558-9246. And inshallah, the number will be on screen shortly, and you will be able to call that number, send us a message, give us a call at any time with your questions. Maulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for joining us once again today. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today. And today, inshallah, we will be discussing issues pertaining to identity and belonging. So there's times when Western culture and Islamic identity are at odds with each other. So for example, when we're attending social events at school, at work, where the gatherings are mixed. There may even be alcohol served at these gatherings. And conversational topics are very, liberal in the Western culture context. And some of these topics and some of these gatherings seemingly may contradict Islamic teachings, specifically of modesty, segregation, and even discussions around, morality and moral frameworks. So how do we maintain our integration with Western society? Because we live here, we work here, our families are here, while maintaining and upholding our Islamic teachings.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa bihi nasta'een. Innahu khairu nasirin wa mu'in. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajjil farajahum. Your questions, I think it's lots of things are, you've said it, you've generalized lots of things like how do we integrate, and then the problems that arise with it. Well, I think that as a Shia Muslim, there's no problem in integration with the Canadian or any Western culture, as long as you uphold your own Islamic background and your Islamic values and the Islamic laws, the Sharia that you're following. I don't think there is any contradiction, or I'm sorry, not the word contradiction, but I think there's no way that anybody would stop you from doing what you're doing as a Muslim. For example, we are fasting. So if you're working somewhere and somebody offers you a drink or something, and you tell them openly that I'm a Muslim and I'm fasting, so I think it is not a secret anymore. Everybody around the globe understands that Muslims are fasting during the months of Ramadan, and they don't drink, they don't eat. Well, other religions also fast, so it's not just the Muslims. It's just with a minor difference of certain things are edible during the other people's fast, but we are just the people who do not eat anything at all or drink anything. So everybody knows that. So I don't think there's any problem while you're facing these kinds of things when you're inside your university or or workplace or somewhere. Yes, there are like you said, a mixed gathering where you have males and females together. That is also should not be a problem for anyone, because if as a Muslim, as a Shia, you know that your eyes are not yours. Well, let me explain further. We belong to Allah. everything that we have is from Allah. And Allah has given us these blessed things that we have, like eyes to see, and ears to hear, and a mind to apply. But all of that is meant for us for a single thing, and there's only one single agenda from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is to be His obedient servants. And we have to follow the guidelines that have been given to us by not just Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but throughout, starting from Hazrat Adam alayhi salam until Rasulullah, and until today by Imam Zaman alayhi salam. So as long as you uphold those values, and you hold sacred those the laws and the Sharia that have been given to us, like things that are haram, yes, there are times when things become awkward. I understand that, but that's a sacrifice that you have to make as a Shia Muslim. And I think for that sacrifice that you make and things get awkward, I don't think you should be awkward. I don't think you should feel that you're any inferior than anybody else, or like you're something that is, you're from a different planet or something. No, you're a Muslim, and you're just playing your own things, and you're saying, well, these are my limits, and that's as much as I can do, and I will be your friend. Yes, and I will do whatever you guys are doing, but only if my religion allows me to do so. And if there are certain things that my religion does not allow me to do, I would think that you would be respecting that, like I respect you. I respect your values, and you respect my religion. I respect your religion, you respect my religion. Lakum dinukum waliyuddin. That is a principle given to us by Islam. So, like Amir Mu'mineen alayhi salam once said, which is like, if you can say it in our words, that you have two kinds of people, either your brothers in faith or your brothers in humanity. So I've said this in my own words. So we are all humans at the end of the day. And if there are certain boundaries, for example, even if there's certain things that don't have to do with religion, some people are vegetarians, so they don't go for meat or anything of that sort. So people respect that, right? There's certain things that people think that, well, that's what they do and that's what they don't do, and people respect that. So you as a Muslim should be able to understand that people, if they're on the other side, if you're willing to respect them, and you're not getting the equal respect, and then at the end you feel awkward, well, the fault lies somewhere else. You shouldn't be awkward. You should be proud of who you are. You're Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. I always say that, alayhi salam. And we should be proud of who we are. We should be proud of our identity, of our roots, of our beliefs. And our beliefs are not a threat to anyone, to any society or anybody else. We are who we are. We are open, and there's nothing to hide. And I think if we display those high morals that are there, that are given in Islam, people will be impressed by it, because people don't know. When we talk to Shias, for example, our own Mu'mineen, they don't know so many things. Every single day I've received questions that are like, that you, Zain Bhai, you would know the answers to all of them, 100%, right? But then you would be surprised that you'll be getting these kind of questions from the Mu'mineen, who call themselves Mu'mineen, and are Mu'mineen, who participate in the majalis and doing all of those things, but they don't know. So that's the point. So if you've got people in the Mu'mineen, amongst the Mu'mineen, who don't know the day-to-day laws that are wajib upon everyone to know, like, for example, how to do the wuzu and how to do the namaz and all of those things, and the fasting, the rules and everything. If our own people don't know, how do you expect others to know?
It's true, yes. And I think one of the things that you touched upon, Maulana, is a very insightful piece of advice, which is, setting your boundaries and making them known. And I think it's something that can be done both subtly and overtly as well. By setting those boundaries and those parameters, you kind of let people know, what sort of issues, what sort of things you are able to do and you're open to, and what other sort of things you are not. For example, somebody who at work or at school amongst their friend group or their peer group, if I myself don't use, for example, derogatory terms or bad words, and I'm essentially very subtly setting the boundaries that, hey, look, I'm not a person who uses this type of language, therefore, don't use this type of language directed at me as well. And then, of course, there's overtly saying that, hey, you know what, I prefer not to use terms like that, or that's not a topic that I'm open to discussing. Or it could be something simple like, no, I don't drink, or currently I'm fasting. And I won't be able to participate in any of the food or drink, but I can sit here, have a discussion with you, and I'm part of the team, because I'm still here and I'm contributing as well. Maulana, how do you feel, and what are your thoughts on attending these types of gatherings? So, for example, I was in a situation a couple of years back where, we had some significant days of importance in the Islamic calendar falling right around the Christmas period. And during that time, we have potlucks at lunch, and there's music. There's, some of the coworkers, they decide to start dancing, or they put on plays. Um, they make videos and stuff like that as presentations and whatnot. And some of those are, Islamically, they're questionable because they deal with issues, for example, like homosexuality, which, we're all expected to just kind of accept in the workplace. Sometimes there's alcohol present, there's music, the lyrics of which, are clearly not allowed by Islam. Are these type of gatherings that we should be attending? And how do we avoid them without feeling alienated, left out, not part of the team, or not being perceived as team players? Because we do want to be able to fit in at work. That's where the opportunities come in. You get your projects that way. You build your network that way. You build your relationships that way. That sets you up for promotions, for bonuses, for additional work, for career advancement, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of pressure to attend these type of gatherings. But what are your thoughts? Should we attend these type of gatherings? Should we gracefully bow out? And if we do decide to attend these types of gatherings, what should our conduct be like when we're there?
Well, I think in your professional life, Islam is not a hurdle. That just summarizes everything
Yes.
in one sentence. Yes, I understand. Like 99%, it will never be a hurdle. If you're working and the job requires you to do certain things, I'm sure it does not require you to have alcohol or things like that, right? But if there is a case like 1%, that's very rare. You should have one thing in your mind, that Allah is Razik. Allah is the one who's who's going to give you this job and all of these things. If you refuse to do that and you choose to go to somewhere else where you do not have to face these things, that is better. But otherwise, things that are haram are haram. Nobody can make that halal. For example, like if there's alcohol served at a place, not just in a party or anywhere else you go, and there's alcohol and you're sitting on the same table, but you're having halal food. Like, for example, they say, well, this is for the Muslims, right? And this is meat or just vegetables. You think that's halal. And you're sitting on the table where alcohol is served. That halal becomes haram. One single bite is not halal from the food that you think is halal, because alcohol is being served on the table that you're sitting. So therefore, you have to refuse. You can't say that. You have to say openly that I can't. If you sit, you can say, well, I'm not gonna eat. Well, that's awkward. Yes, too bad. I can't do anything about it because that's haram, right? Well, and the other thing is, like, for example, you mentioned about music. If some of the events come during Muharram, for example, and we as Shias understand that if it is like the 8th of Muharram, we're going to go for a majlis. But then we're required on the day of Ashura to go and attend these kinds of events. Well, it's just common sense. I think that should prevail. And also, we know as Shias that at doing anything on the day of Ashura, which is worldly, for example, your job or anything of that sort, it is haram. So you have to take a holiday. You have to take a day out on the day of Ashura. Anything you do, any kind of work that you do for your office or for your, for example, if you're a businessman, you're doing business, you open your shop or whatever you're doing, that's haram. So if you have a shop, you have to close it down on the day of the Ashura. That's a verdict, and it has been like this in centuries. So I think, like, there's certain things there are do's and there are don'ts. There's yes, you can mix with these people, but as long as you know your limits and you know what is halal and what is haram, and if you can take care of those things, do what you want to do.
So Maulana, thank you for that. With alcohol, it's an obvious one because we know that alcohol openly is forbidden for Muslims. And I think the general population also understands that. However, when we get to more subtle issues, for example, you're attending one of these gatherings at work, or it's a work-related gathering or a business meeting or whatever it is. And perhaps there's no alcohol there, perhaps there's no music there, but we're sitting in front of, for example, na-mahram, the opposite gender. And of course, they're not Muslim, maybe they're Muslim, but they're not, wearing the appropriate Islamic headdress. Perhaps they're not using appropriate language. Perhaps the topic of the discussion from time to time slips into something that's not within the boundaries of Islamic morality. And now we find that, we're seated either face to face or at the same table or in the same room as these non-mahram, and naturally we're human beings, and we have our instincts, we have our feelings, we have our emotions, and we see that, or we can feel that these emotions are starting to bubble up within us while we're attending these sort of meetings. It's very subtle. With alcohol, it's very obvious. Yeah, it's a clear no, and everybody knows about that. But when it comes to the issue of non-mahrams, of opposite gender who are not blood relatives to us, how do we handle that sort of an interaction, that sort of a gathering?
Well, here's the news. We live in the Western world, and women do not, most of the women do not have the Islamic attire. They don't do hijab. So does that mean that we cannot speak to women? Does that mean that if we are working somewhere or we're studying somewhere, we should not speak to them? No. Is that haram? No. That is not haram. What is haram is like the thing that you said, which comes later on. Like, for example, if you have an issue within yourself arising and you have certain kind of feelings that you said develop for the other gender, and you're sitting right on the opposite side, and what do you do then? Well, so in itself, sitting there was not haram. Getting into a conversation was not haram. But now that you have got these feelings developing, now it becomes haram. So like we were discussing about the limits, I think you should hold your ground and within yourself. And I think we can have a control over our soul and our mind. We are human beings, and yes, we are weak. Sometimes we are weak. So if you are weak, well, you know what to do. Just politely move away somewhere else. You don't have to be sitting there and well, Maulana said you can do that. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say you can, and do anything that's haram. Well, halal is only up to a limit, but you know your limits. So wherever you are, you have to keep one thing in mind, which is that you are the Shias of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and Imam Zaman alayhi salam is there for you, and he's watching us every single time. Do we think that we living in the Western world and we're facing all of these problems? What about pre-Islamic era? What about the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with Islam, where there was no mahram and na mahram kind of thing? It didn't exist. So people, things that are haram were considered to be all right, and it was okay, right? So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with these laws and rules, yes, there were certain people of in Rasulullah's family who were already abiding with these rules, and they were following the Sharia of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, like Abu Talib alayhi salam, Hazrat Abdul Muttalib, Bibi Khadija salamullah, and many others. There were few, but like when I say many, like I'm saying it like it wasn't just two or three people. There were certain people who were Muslims, and they were following. When I say Muslims, I mean that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna deena indallahi al-Islam, according to Allah, near Allah, there's only one religion, which is Islam. So Islam all existed from the time of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. And the values that we are discussing right now have always been there in the religions, right? If you go to Mennonites here in Canada, if you go to and see what those Mennonite Christians are doing, if you see what their women wear, that they've got the full hijab, and they don't mix with anyone. So you have those kind of people who totally don't mix with anyone. They don't even believe in any kind of technology. They don't have, well, that's their beliefs and that's their set of things, and they're happy with it. They live without electricity and they're happy with it. They live without gadgets. They live without mobile phones and, anything of that sort. And, they don't believe in holding even passports or anything. I've heard that they've got some kind of cards, and when they travel to United States, they've got those things. So they've got their own medications, everything. So they've got their own schools and everything. All right. So you've got those kind of people, even amongst Christians. So we're not just the only ones who've got all our own kind of sets of rules. So we're not like them, and we're not like the people who are them, like the people that we're discussing. Like, we're not one of them, and we're just in between. So there's a balance that you need to keep as a Muslim when you live in the Western world. There's a balance that you need to keep, and you know your boundaries. Allah has put that thing deep down inside yourself. And when I was saying that Imam Zaman alayhi salam is watching you, if you do not have the strength to, hold the ground and be firm with all of those things that you believe in, and you feel at some time that you're getting weak, that is the time that you should seek help from the Imam of your time. And that's what he's there for you. He's there for you, and he will protect you. And you will see that how he protects you. He will show you the ways, in the kind of the ways where you will not be, felt like, you will not feel yourself that you're feeling awkward, and people will not look down upon you. In fact, people will start praising you when you ask help from Imam Zaman, and you will feel within yourself the thing that we were discussing, that when sometimes there are certain moments that you feel that, no, I cannot hold it anymore, and I have to, like, the certain feelings that you said are developing. Imam is going to help you. If you seek help from your Imam, you will see that those feelings will not exist within you. It will not exist.
That's a very good, very insightful advice.
And I guarantee you, I'm saying this on live television, I guarantee you, if you seek help from Imam Zaman, those feelings will cease to exist within yourself. This power is not is something that comes within yourself. No, that power is given from Imam Zaman alayhi salam. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. That is the meaning of this word. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I made these imams. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً. They are the imam. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ. They guide. يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. They guide from my amr. And what is that amr? The amr is إِنَّمَا إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا يَقُولُ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا فيقول له كن فيكون. So what is that amr? إنما أمره. Amr is when Allah wishes something, He says, let it be, and there it is. So Allah says that they're doing the guidance from my amr. It means that something that did not exist is being created. So the hidayat and the guidance that did not exist in my soul is being created by the Imam, by the power given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is, Imam has the power to penetrate inside your soul and inside your mind. And if there's any weak parts inside your soul or something that you cannot, you feel you're weak, he will give you the strength. And I guarantee you that you will have those things. And besides, other than this, people will respect you, and he will show you the ways of dealing with these sorts of things. So don't deal with it alone. You're not alone in this. He's your Imam, and he's there for you. And you're doing this for him. So he's watching you. So if you ask for help,
reaching out to your Imam first and foremost being the most practical advice that we have here. The second thing being that, being balanced in our approach. And in order to be balanced, you need to have some knowledge as well. So informing yourself, making yourself knowledgeable of how to handle these situations, what those boundaries are, what those rules are. And then I think thirdly as well, sometimes when these feelings come up, you just need to give yourself a break. So whether that's, excusing yourself to go to the bathroom, wash your face, faking a phone call, whatever it is that gets you out of the heat of that moment so that you can get a little break, reset yourself, have that conversation with yourself, with your Imam. Ask for that help for his wasila, and then return to the meeting or to the gathering that you're at, while maintaining that balance of Islamic moralic teachings, as well as being able to interact with these people. Jazakallah, Maulana. Thank you so much for that beautiful.
Let me just finish. When you say getting into a conversation with your Imam, the best thing is that you don't have to say anything. whatever is
Yes.
going on inside your mind and your heart, he knows that, right?
Yes, mashallah.
So you just have to
That's
reach
right.
out to him. Yeah, and he's there for you. So you don't deal with it alone. That is my advice. Bring
That's
your
beautiful.
master, bring
Yes.
your imam in
Absolutely.
that
He's your
picture.
imam, so he knows what's in your heart. And as soon
There
as
you
it
go.
pops up in your heart,
Exactly.
you've started that
There you go.
conversation with him.
There you
Subhanallah.
go.
Jazakallah Maulana. Thank you so much for your time today.
So,
We've just scratched the surface of this issue, and inshallah, we will be continuing tomorrow. Once again, to our Hyder TV viewers, with your questions, your comments, your concerns, your suggestions, please do reach out to us. The phone number is on screen. I'll repeat it once again. +1 416 558 9246. Reach out to us via voice, video call, text message, WhatsApp, whatever it works for you. We want to hear from you. We want your input. We want your interaction. Inshallah, we will reconvene once again tomorrow on Hyder TV for Youth Talk. Same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Maulana Raza Hussain Zaidi. Inshallah, we will see you then. Keep us in your du'as, please, and have a very, very good night. Assalamu alaikum.